What is up, everyone, and welcome to some more F1 23 My Team career mode. We're here for round number 13 of season 7 of our Jaguar Racing career. There are just 11 races left to go this season, and then we will be at the end of our F1 23 My Team career mode. It's been a long time coming, but I am very much looking forward to the start of a brand new journey in F1 24 in just 16 days time as of the day that I'm recording this. So yeah, it is time for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Last time out we had a first place finish in France. It was a very strong race for me, and we were able to get it over the finish line in P1 and bag our third win of the season, and we currently lead the drivers' standings by 13 points over George Russell. Esteban Ocon just behind him on 142 points, 15 points behind myself, and then Sargent and Norris round out the top 5 at the moment. Meanwhile, my teammate Charles Leclerc down in P9 on just 81 points. I'm hoping that he can have a good race this weekend to get himself a little bit further up the driver's standings if he possibly can. But yeah, so far this season it's just not really all come together for the Monegasque driver, so I'm hoping that he can have perhaps a little bit better of a race this time out. As for me, I don't know what the target is going to be like here. This is a bit of a 50-50 circuit for me. Sometimes it goes really well, sometimes it goes quite poorly, so I think we're just going to have to wait and see what the pace is like in practice and in qualifying in particular, and hopefully we can just bag some strong points, keep ourselves on top of the championship. I think that has to realistically be the target, just not get outscored by George Russell so much that he overtakes me in the championship. He needs a win with me finishing P5 to reclaim the lead of the championship here today, so it's not completely out of the question, I wouldn't say, but if we can beat him, that would be ideal. Continue extending our championship lead. That would be something that I would be very keen on doing. First session of the weekend, as always, is practice 1. Obviously I won't show you any driving from this session, but I will show you what the final times look like. It was actually a wet session throughout, so yeah, no dry running during this session, and despite that fact we weren't able to get ourselves in the top 14. I think in a large part that was due to the fact that we went quite early in the session, and I think it started to dry out towards the end when most people did their fastest laps. I also forgot to put a setup on for the entirety of practice. I did remedy this for qualifying, but for the entirety of practice I was running on a default setup, so that probably didn't help either. But yeah, I did adjust the setup onto a dedicated Hungary setup. I've gone for a dry setup because the race is slated to be dry for the entire time. There is predicted to be a little bit of rain in qualifying, but I'm hoping that we can quite literally weather the storm on this occasion and yeah, get through whatever rain does come and hopefully still achieve a good qualifying position. So our first flying lap on a fresh set of soft compound tyres with a 1:15.1, and that was good enough to put us fastest for the time being, but we'll see whether other people are capable of mounting a challenge on that. It actually started raining towards the end of the session, so it was a good job that my first lap was good enough, because I tried going out on another fresh set of soft compound tyres, but yeah, we went 5 seconds slower than my initial time. It is definitely intermediate conditions now, and I will be surprised if it dries out quick enough for it to be any kind of dry running in Q2, but we'll see. Charles Leclerc making it through in P3, myself through in P9. Knocked out here. Podium finishers from last race, Logan Sargent and Kevin Magnussen are out here. Piastri, Vesti, Stroll and De Vries also joined them in the drop zone as well. A very surprising bottom 6 there on that occasion, you know, with how many people there were in the points or on the podium in the previous race. For them all to be knocked out in Q1 is very, very disappointing. But as we get into Q2, as I projected, it is time for intermediate tyres. It's very wet at the moment. We do a 1:27.6. It's only the 7th fastest time of the session, so we may have to get a bit of improvement on that in the second run that I do. However, not really many other people thought it was worth going out, even though there was a bit more time on the table, to be honest, as you can see by the fact that I'm improving by a little over 0.8 of a second. Across the line, it's a 1:26.8, and that is going to be good enough to see us through to Q3 in P1. So yeah, very happy with that, and hopefully we can continue delivering strong performances when we make our way through into Q3 as well. Charles Leclerc making it through as well, which is good to see. He got P7 here, which I was quite happy with, but yeah, not all the people who would have wanted to get through got through there. For example, Ocon is knocked out here. He'll be very disappointed with that. Other than that, it was mostly cars you would expect to be knocked out in Q1, like Fittipaldi, Lawson, Sonoda, Doohan and Joe. All of these guys, you know, sometimes usually good for being knocked out in Q1. They were lucky to get through to Q2 on this occasion, and they couldn't double their luck and get through to Q3. But actually, Théo Pourchaire did make it through, so that's definitely going to be the biggest surprise Q3 appearance today. And it was still wet at the start of Q3, so I actually did a one-lap magic here. And I just went out on a set of softs at the very end of the session, and we'll see what kind of time we can do with no prior running. We're going to cross the line. It's a 1:14.2, and that is pole position. Really one lap magic prevails once again, and we will be starting from P1 in the race tomorrow.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Robinson, Russell and Dennis Hauger. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
Well, things are looking awfully spicy here, looking at the order here. George Russell joins me on the front row in P2. And then you've also got Dennis Hauger and Lando Norris, who are both in the top 6 in the championship. Could potentially get themselves back in the championship fight this time. We'll see what happens. Leclerc getting P5 as well. A pretty solid result from him. We'll see what kind of performance he can deliver in the race, but we'll see what we can do as we get into the Hungarian Grand Prix.
It's race day in Budapest as we get ready for another round of Formula One action. It's tight, it's technical. Some drivers love it, some drivers find it a challenge. Either way, there's been so much drama in the last couple of years at the Hungarian Grand Prix. 14 corners then for our drivers to navigate at the 2.7-mile Hungaroring today. It's 6 lefts and 8 rights to comprise a lap here, with an average speed around 120 miles an hour, and the final corner, a favourite of Esteban Ocon, given that he exited it and won his first Grand Prix here. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, just ahead of George Russell, who starts this event from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hauger, Norris, Leclerc, Albon, Verstappen, Gasly, Théo Pourchaire, Perez, Fittipaldi, Ocon, Liam Lawson, Tsunoda, Doohan, Joe, Sargent, Oscar Piastri, Vesti, Magnussen, Stroll, and Nick de Vries rounds off the grid. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And we welcome Natalie Pinkham to the comment box once again. Nats, no weather issues to worry about. It is dry and glorious out there. Everyone can focus on the racing.
Well, the regulations aren't new anymore, but the teams and the drivers are still coming to terms with them. I firmly believe it's also track specific. We've seen some wheel-to-wheel racing throughout the year. Some tracks lend themselves better to it than others. I'd like to see it at every race in the whole season. Is that too much to ask?
Okay, we've got that relief of having points on the board finally, so let's keep that form up and get another top 10 finish today, please.
Something incredibly amusing to me about the fact that they say, oh, the regulations aren't new anymore. It's like, no kidding, the regulations aren't new anymore. They were introduced in 2022, and canonically this is now, what, 2029, I think? So, yeah, you could say they're not new anymore. In fact, there have been a raft of regulation changes since that point as well. So, yeah, it's a bit interesting. I hope that that's something that they think about adding to a future game. I doubt it will be in next year's game. I'll be very impressed if it is. But kind of dynamic voice lines that change with each season, so it's not just like, oh, you know, we're at the 2024 Miami Grand Prix, or you know, that kind of thing, because you know, when you're in 2028 or whatever, obviously that's not going to be correct anymore. It's just a very minor thing, but it's still something that does, I suppose, kind of bother me a little bit. But anyway, we will see what kind of performance we can deliver here in the race as the lights come on and the lights go out, and I think we've had a good getaway here. We're starting on the medium compound tyres, where everybody else around us in the entirety of the top 5 other than us is starting on soft compound tyres. So I won't be surprised if we do get overtaken at some point during the first stint here, but hopefully we'll be able to stay with the cars around us even if they do start to make a few overtakes, and we'll be able to utilise the superior tyre performance later on in the stint to be able to get back past them. But this could be a bit of a foregone conclusion. Honestly, at the start of the race here, I was thinking, I don't think I'm winning this race. As much as I'm, excited to be leading the race off the start and qualifying in P1 and all that kind of thing, I really just don't see how we're going to be able to hold off, some very fast soft compound runners for the entirety of the race. 35 laps, and they'll be on faster compound tyres than the entire time. So it is going to be an interesting battle to say the least, and we'll see if we can somehow deliver a strong performance. But the only thing that I was kind of thinking maybe I've got a chance here is because obviously I was so much faster than everyone else in qualifying by like 4/10 or something like that, that I was feeling that there was a real opportunity for me to just kind of break away from the pack, or at least keep them at bay on the slower compound of tyre. So as we make our way onto lap 2 now, you can see that I am still ahead of George Russell. He's not really mounted any kind of challenge on me yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if a little bit further down the line, especially once the DRS gets enabled, we see a bit more of a threat from him. And we make our way onto lap 3. So there's been no DRS zones just yet, but we're about to come to the first one. However, we might not have to wait that long for George Russell to make an overtake. He thought about going up the inside at the corner there, but he just couldn't quite commit to the move. The outside line proved to be the superior run, and he's got to get past me pretty soon, otherwise those soft compound tyres will not be good for making this overtake. I'd say that he's probably got maybe 2, 3, 4 more laps to make the overtake. Is he going to go for a move on the run down into turn 1? Yes, actually he is. I thought he wasn't going to go for it, but we're wheel to wheel through the first corner, and he will have another go with some more DRS here, and I actually think he's going to pull this off. He moves round the outside, but we stay just close enough, just with our tyres alongside his rear tyres, our front tyres alongside his rear tyres, and that was enough to keep George Russell behind. But he's going to go for another move up the inside through the fast left-hander on this occasion, and that was not really going to work unless he had balls about 3 times the size of the ones that he's got at the moment, because that is an incredibly dangerous corner to overtake at. You talk about was it Hamilton and Alonso racing through that corner, as Russell puts a bit more pressure on me here, and Hamilton of course famously with that line saying that's so dangerous doing that through that corner, and most people's reaction was like, it's Formula 1, mate. It is dangerous. We make our way through the final corner on lap 5. We'll see if we come under any more pressure from George Russell. We can see the gap now is 0.7 of a second. I don't know if he'll be able to close this down using the DRS, to be perfectly honest with you, so I think we may have survived for this lap. And time is running out for George Russell before those soft compound tyres really do get fully worn out on this occasion. I think he's got maybe 1 or 2 more attacks in him. He is going to make a bit of a half-hearted look at that same corner once again, but he just can't quite get it done on this occasion. It was not really that close, and now he is very much on the back foot here. 0.8 of a second between myself and George Russell as I make my way through the final corner. He's almost out of my DRS range at this point. That half-hearted move really cost his momentum and his flow, so he is now significantly further behind me, and I think we should be able to hold on to this position. I think he's probably taken the best out of those soft compound tyres now, and so it's no surprise that we pick things up back again on lap 11, where I am still comfortably leading the race. George Russell has stayed with me, to give him his due, but I haven't really experienced any more all-out attacks or anything like that from George Russell. He's just biding his time, I think maybe waiting until the pit stop phase now, where he will give it another go to try and make the overtake on me, and it will be a whole different ball game when he's on those medium compound tyres and I'm on the hard compound tyres at the end of the race. But there are a few cars coming into the pits already on lap 11, Norris and Hauger to name a couple, and there are others who are also coming in from further afield as well. So could that potentially mean that they're doing a 2-stop strategy? That would be quite interesting. Lap 16 now, and you can see that George Russell and Charles Leclerc have just pitted at the end of lap 15. This could actually be bad for me, potentially, because obviously I'm staying out for an additional lap. If they have a fast out lap as we make our way towards the end of the lap and into the pit lane, if they have a fast out lap, I could potentially be caught by these guys and undercut by them. The notorious undercutter, the undercut meta appreciator, may just be about to be a victim of the thing he loves so much if we're not careful here as we do come into the pits. It's a nice turn in. We will be putting on those hard compound tyres to the end of the race, and let's keep an eye particularly on Russell and Leclerc. So Russell is going to go through, and it's actually a pretty sizable gap between myself and him. Leclerc too. We dive up the inside of our teammate though. We're not letting him take that position away from us, because that would be game over if we conceded the position to the Monegasque driver. But we've got to make up 3 seconds on George Russell, and about the only thing that's working in our favour right now is the fact that he's being held up by those cars doing the 2-stops. There's 6 cars in front who I think are doing the 2-stop strategy, including Piastri, I think Tsunoda and Porsche are in the mix there. Fittipaldi, Hauger and Norris are the 6 there. So all of these guys should be pitting again as we get a track limits warning there, our first of the race. So we need to be careful not to do that too many more times. But as we dive up the inside of Piastri, force him wide, make the move up into P7. Yeah, this should be net P2 at the moment, I believe. Once everyone else who's on this 2-stop strategy does pit, but we will see what happens with that as well. You know, the 2-stop strategy could prevail. It has done on other occasions here in Hungary. You know, you'll remember all those races where one driver is stuck behind another. They decide to roll the dice and pit for a second time, and end up coming through and winning the race. I think both Verstappen and Hamilton have done that here in years gone by. As we've got the DRS, we're very close behind Tsunoda and Russell now. Russell is going to go for a move on Tsunoda. I don't think we're going to be close enough to actually make the move though. I was looking for a gap around the outside of him. All we really did was invite Leclerc to look for an overtake on us, and that's kind of cost our momentum a little bit through the first corner as well, which means we're still not able to get ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. And now I'm worried that we're going to be frustrated, stuck behind him for the entirety of lap 20 here. You know, 15 laps to go, and George Russell, the whole time that Tsunoda is holding me up, he's breaking away, getting ahead of Teo Porsche. Tsunoda will have the DRS here, but I don't really have a choice. I'm going to have to go for the overtake here, otherwise we're going to have to wait so long to get it done. So around the outside, I'm going to attempt to go on Yuki Tsunoda. We've just about managed to keep our foot in there, and yeah, that will be an overtake made as a result of that with the DRS up the inside at the following corner. And now we have to set off after Teo Porsche in the Haas and see if we can overtake him nice and quickly to stay with George Russell, stay in the fight. He's 1.8 seconds ahead of us. He was 1 second ahead of us at one point, and now he's starting to break away again. Teo Porsche, of course, won't have the DRS here, so there should be a fairly trivial overtake once we get to the DRS zone. But I mean, my goodness, this is not what we wanted whatsoever, really. I was hoping that we'd be able to stay with Russell a bit better than this. Hopefully he'll catch Fittipaldi and be held up a little bit by my Season 1 teammate, of course. Currently, I've got 2 former teammates on the podium in Fittipaldi and Hauger as well, but both of those guys will be coming into the pit lane, and as a result, that will promote me up into P2. But crucially, that's promoting Charles Leclerc up into P3. So it'll be really interesting to see whether he can bag a podium here today in Hungary, or whether this 2-stop strategy for the likes of Norris and Hauger is going to work out. But as we make our way onto lap 27, you can see that the gap is maybe starting to come down to George Russell a little bit now. So maybe he's just taken the best out of those medium compound tyres. Maybe I've still got more fight in the hard compound tyres. Don't remember, I went onto these tyres later than he did, and this is a harder compounded tyre, so it's going to be much better than his at the end of the race. Usually I find myself in the opposite boat, where it's like, you know, I have gone onto the harder compounded tyre, but I've gone on earlier than the car that I'm racing with, and so as a result they usually have pretty similar performance. But on this occasion I've actually done the strategy kind of how it's supposed to be done, as this is Lance Stroll becoming the first retirement from the race on lap 27. We're very close to getting a perfect race there with all cars finishing, but not to be, unfortunately. And now we make our way through onto lap 30. I get my second track limits warning of the race, so now we have to be really, really careful not to get another one, or it could very, very quickly be game over for us in terms of the fight that we're having. Meanwhile, Lando Norris looks like he is going to be on for at least P3 here today, as he's getting past Charles Leclerc. So feasibly, the strategy didn't really make a difference for him. It just gave him a slightly more interesting race by the looks of things, because he would have been P3 regardless. I think me and Russell were definitely dead set on P1 and P2 in whatever order we end up being in, unless Norris of course can close that gap in the last 5 laps of the race. It would be very exciting if he was capable of doing that, But yeah, as we make our way to lap 31, you can see how close we are to George Russell now, but we weren't close enough to make an overtake on the way into lap 31. So we're going to have to get this overtake done sometime, pretty soon, if we want to make it happen. You know, these hard compound tyres, they probably won't be good for overtaking right until the end of the race. So I think it's got to be now or never, really. On lap 32, we're going to dummy him to the inside. He's going to defend the inside at turn 1, but we switch back to the outside. Can we go around the outside of George Russell and try and make the overtake stick as we make our way into turn 2? Yes, we can. The DRS and the battery helping us out to full effect there. And now I'm just going to see if I can break away from George Russell. And as we make our way onto the final lap of the race, lap 35, you can see I have done exactly that. We have made our way up into P1, 1 second gap to George Russell behind. Unless I have a real catastrophe here, we should be okay. Lando Norris, he got pretty close, but I don't think he's going to get close enough. He could still overtake Russell potentially, but he's going to have to do it in an unorthodox spot. So I think Russell should just about hold on. I think if there'd have been one more lap, I think Norris would have got P2 here instead, and the strategy would have been worth it. And if there had been a couple more laps, we might even be looking at him mounting an attack on me as well. But as things stand, it is going to be Norris having to settle into P3. But as we round the final corner here, we have done everything we needed to, and we've got back-to-back victories in Formula 1. It's P1 at the Hungarian Grand Prix once again in my career. I've had wins here before, and this will be a nice way to add to that tally. Very happy with how I managed that race. Good strategy, good driving, good pace, and yeah, hopefully we can keep the good times rolling.
Well, that might not have been the finest race in history, but there's no question that was a critical win. So, Natalie, what made the difference out there today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
Well, what a thrilling end to an incredible Grand Prix weekend. Our top 3 finishers should be incredibly happy with what they were able to achieve out there today.
Well, I am incredibly happy with what I've managed to achieve out here today. You know, first time we've had back-to-back victories this season, takes our win tally for Season 7 to 4. I think we'll definitely need a few more victories if we want any chance of winning the championship, especially because things are going to get hard from here on out. You know, there's a difficult run of races coming up. Zandvoort, Monza, Singapore. It won't be easy, but as Russell and Norris round out the podium, we are prepared to give it everything for these last 10 races of the season.
So let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. Robinson increases their championship lead. Let's focus on driver of the day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
I have to give it to Robinson.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. It was a tough race for our championship leaders who lose ground at the top of the table. Been an absolutely wild weekend of Formula 1 action. I can't wait to see what's next.
Well, all things considered, that was a pretty good race for the team as well. You know, P1 and P4, Charles Leclerc having one of his best results of the season so far, minus the win in Imola, of course, which you know is definitely gonna go down as probably his best win of the time that he was racing at Jaguar Racing. Yes, the Australia one was good, but you know, Imola, he had to actually fight through the field. So yeah, mightily impressive from Charles Leclerc on that occasion. But yeah, you know, good result. First and fourth for us, second and fifth for Red Bull takes us just 39 points behind the team currently on the top of the driver, or the Constructors' Championship, I should say. Drivers' Championship-wise, we extend our advantage over George Russell by a further 6 points, I believe, because I think he was the one with the fastest lap. Actually, no, it was Norris, so it's another 7 points extended over George Russell now, which I believe means we are 20 points ahead of him. So, you know, still, if we have another DNF in this season and George Russell wins the race, he will be right back on top of that championship. We can't afford to take anything for granted right now, and you know, we have to just keep pushing like our life depends on it. And unfortunately for me, like I said, the next race has been historically one of my weakest on the Formula 1 calendar. If I'm not mistaken, there have been multiple times over the last few years where I've failed to even score points in Zandvoort, never mind, you know, get a podium, get a win. I don't think I've ever had a win there, but yeah, it is not a circuit that treats me particularly well. So I'm envisioning that that's going to be a very, very tough race. I think that if we can even score points there, if we can even hold on to our championship lead, I will consider that a success based on the performance that we've shown in the past. You know, Monza and Singapore, I've had a bit more luck there historically. Not a massive amount of luck, but at least a bit more. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to get at least a decent chunk of points in those races. But yeah, Zandvoort is the big one that could really spoil our day. No Belgium on the calendar this year, of course, just missing from the calendar due to you know, me chopping and changing what races are on the calendar each season. But yeah, that means that potentially one of our strongest tracks on the calendar is gone, and we will have to make do without it, as the next race will be Zandvoort, like I said. But that is going to be it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.